Well, it looks like once again Batman had to come in and save the day. If you want to find out how, stay tuned. Hello friends, welcome back to the show. So glad to see you all once again. And if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. This is the show where we talk about episodes of TV shows that we grew up on in the 80s and 90s. And right now we're working through a series of Superman, the animated series, almost done. So if this sounds like something you might enjoy, go ahead and hit the subscribe button because we got plenty of episodes on the channel talking about all the episodes of Superman and Batman. And today we're talking about The Demon Reborn, which originally aired on September 18th, 1999.
I'm sorry we must meet under such circumstances.
We're only 2 episodes away from the conclusion of season 3 and the series of Superman the Animated Series. What's strange is on some websites, this episode is actually listed as the first episode of the 4th season, which makes sense if you look at the calendar year because the last episode, Unity, aired back in May, and this is now September, which is typically when a new season starts, but there's actually only 2 more episodes left of the entire series, and that's a 2-parter, Legacy, which I'll be reviewing on Thursday. I find it strange, and then on DC Universe and IMDb and all that, it lists this as the end of the 3rd season. And so I don't know how that originally broke up, if that was intended to be a 4th season and then they weren't able to finish it, or they always just kind of lump that in with the 3rd season, or how that shakes out. But this episode sees the final pairing of Superman and Batman until we get to Justice League, of course. But in the Superman series, this is the last pair up of Superman and Batman. And it brings in Ra's al Ghul. However you want to say it. But we'll talk all about that right after our 60-second Brainiac bomb rundown of the episode. Give you a complete synopsis, 60 seconds or less before that bomb goes off. Here we go. Lois and Clark are covering a museum exhibit that is having a new delivery on train, and these Spider-Man looking ninjas come in and take the staff, and Superman goes out to stop them, and Batman swoops in out of nowhere and kind of chastises Superman a little bit for blowing what he's been following, Ra's al Ghul and his guys, for a long time. Meanwhile, back at Lois's apartment, Talia comes in, knocks out Lois, and takes some of her clothes, and then impersonates her to get Superman to come and take her. And then Ra's al Ghul's guys take Superman back to his lair, and it's in this cave, and he's now old and decrepit, and he says, I'm going to use the staff to take your strength. And then Batman goes to Lois, and he does some investigation and gets some samples of the clothes, sends back to Alfred. Alfred determines it is some fuel. He follows that source, goes back to the cave. They're fighting at the cave, and Superman is able to get free because of Batman's help. And then once the kid, they're fighting, and Ra's gets enough strength from Superman, becomes a super Bane-looking Ra's al Ghul, and then they start fighting, and then I was talking as fast as I possibly could. While they're fighting, the cave starts collapsing. They get out. I will say Superman does take Batman out. And then Superman is x-raying the cave, and he goes, I see no source of life or bodies of any sort. And he goes, well, hopefully this will be the last and then that we see of him, but who knows? And they shake hands and go their separate ways until Justice League.
Next time I'll fax my itinerary.
Yeah, so I mentioned it in my breakdown, but this is the guys that are coming into the train to steal these artifacts look identical to Spider-Man, and it made me realize that Spider-Man, the iconic Spider-Man look, is that eye shape that he has, and they have the black suits, which Spider-Man had the black suits at one time, had the black suited Spider-Man, but still that same shape of the eyes. And it's funny because we just saw it was in Unity, right? That Supergirl made a dig at the Spider-Man or Spider Power comic book that she was reading. And now here again, we have them with these Spider-Man looking characters, ninjas that are working for Ra's or Raish, whatever you want to say. It's funny to me that they have a crossover like that. I mean, obviously Spider-Man or Marvel has a copyright on that eye shape. Well, I don't think so. Maybe they do. Around this time was the Spider-Man animated series, and I don't know if this was a little competition thing that was going on or when exactly that came out, but every time I saw them, and the more that I looked at them, the more that I just could not stop thinking about Spider-Man.
Do you have any idea who they are?
And once again, I think that this was a clever story to bring Batman into the fold. Batman and Ra's al Ghul obviously had a very interesting past and are interwoven in their stories. So to see Ra's al Ghul going to Metropolis to get this artifact, he's following his own path. He's doing what he's got to do to stay alive and to keep his youth if he can't get back to the Lazarus pit. And that attracts Batman. That brings Batman into the fold. And with Ra's al Ghul comes Talia al Ghul. So then there's this interesting little jealousy that's going on between Lois and Batman, that she's saying,
Talia? On a first-name basis, are we?
This was a great story to pick to bring Batman and Superman partnered up again. And what I think is interesting too about this is it's not a direct partnership. They don't really discuss and say, let's team up and stop Ra's al Ghul. Really, it's just Batman being led to Metropolis following Ra's al Ghul. And through that, Superman gets captured, and then Batman has to come in and save him, which I poke fun of that Superman needed Batman to come in and save him. But that was just sort of a byproduct of Batman being involved in this story. And I'm sure that Superman would have figured out a way out of that on his own if Batman hadn't showed up, right? I'm sure he would have. But with that, I do have to say that they have Superman held in with these restraints, just look like big giant steel brackets around his arms and legs, which granted they're huge and massive, but he's Superman. I don't know what they're made of, and they don't really explain if there's some sort of kryptonite involved in that or some other technology that they developed to hold him. But I'm like, it seems like it would be easy for Superman to break out of that. But I guess since they did have Batman there, that they used him as the opportunity to save Superman and get him out of there. But it seemed like he should have been able to do that himself. Now, obviously, once they start sucking his strength, that he wouldn't be able to get out of there. But prior to that, he's just sort of being held captive.
Punish me or save your daughter. Your choice.
And the one part of this episode that I didn't think was real clear, and maybe they explained it, but I wasn't, but I didn't catch it, was Ra's al Ghul's plan all along to take Superman's strength, or was that a afterthought once he got that spear? That he got the spear or the staff or whatever it was, that he would be able to draw somebody's strength, and he gets that, and then came up with the plan of, oh, let's have Talia impersonate Lois and get Lois so we can get Superman and take his strength? Or was it just, I'm going to get somebody's strength, I'm going to pull somebody's strength? And I guess not that it matters, but that part just wasn't clear if that was always the plan that he was working in, and that's why he got this scepter or spear or staff or whatever it was from Metropolis, or is that just the way it worked out for him?
Your strength.
And I do like how this sets up the partnership for Superman and Batman to work together again in Justice League. And we talked about it in the first partnership between the two of them, World's Finest, where they came together and didn't really get along or had different styles of doing that. And that's still clear in this episode from the beginning when Batman and Superman are having their conversation about how Superman just kind of blunders through and just uses his strength, and Batman was trying to be precise and trying to take down Ra's al Ghul in a very formulaic fashion. But they kind of set up this partnership right there at the end that leads you to believe that they will work together, or they could possibly be working together in the future, and seeing the need for each other. Because I joke that Batman had to save Superman, but then Superman did save Batman there and return the favor. So they complement each other really well, and I think that is illustrated in that final scene.
There might be something to this partnership business after all. Yeah, right.
So when it comes time to rank this episode, it's a good episode, but I think it's a great mystery of what's going on with Ra's al Ghul. It's a great story in his arc, and we've seen him kind of have a really well-written storyline all the way from Batman the Animated Series and through, that this is another chapter in that story. I like how they put Batman and Superman together in a fashion that wasn't just, oh, I happen to be in Metropolis and I'll help you out with this case or whatever. It was a well-constructed story that threw them together. And not, again, they were kind of working individually on this same case. So taking all that into consideration, this ranks at the number 15 spot of my favorite episodes. Which I think is a fair ranking. I think it's a good episode. I don't think it is top 10 material. But as I found in the episodes that are above this is that they just have some element to them that kicks them up above higher. I have this one falling just below Ghost in the Machine because like that one with Brainiac and Luthor and kind of putting Luthor in a weak position and Brainiac kind of overpowering and using him to do his bidding is just kind of an interesting dynamic. And so that's why that one beat this one out. I do have this one beating out Little Girl Lost because, again, that one is a great story and it's a nice way of introducing Supergirl, but it also is just that, an introduction of Supergirl. And so this one does have a better dynamic in the plot and more characters involved in the story. So now that we've seen all the crossover episodes of Batman and Superman in the animated series, what is your favorite crossover of Superman and Batman, or a combination of the two of those characters? From Batman the Animated Series to Superman the Animated Series, what's your favorite episode that pairs the two of them together? Do you agree with my list of how it falls, or is there another one that you would rank higher than I do? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button. If you want to see more episodes like this, well then check out some of the episodes that I have over here and click subscribe so that you don't miss any of the new episodes that I have coming out. And next up, we have the last episode of Superman the Animated Series, the two-parter Legacy. So you don't want to miss that. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Andy Knode. I'll see you soon.